Today, I'm joined with Jason, who runs the channel 161 River Ave, one of the
Yeah,
best Yankee channels out there, one of the best baseball channels out there. Stay up to date on every bit of baseball news. So thank you for joining me today.
thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Today, we're going to be going over the Yankees offseason, giving our thoughts, just every little move, everything that they did.
Mhm.
So we're just going to start by kind of giving a quick recap of the offseason. So the Yankees had a couple of main losses going into this. They lost O'Day to free agency, along with Gardner. And the biggest one in my mind was Corey Kluber. Now, Yankees did make a good amount of moves. They made some trades, mainly the Donaldson trade involving Josh Donaldson, Isaiah Falefa, Ben Rortvet. That's how you pronounce his name. I never know how to pronounce that.
I think it's
And
close.
yeah, they gave up Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela in that deal. They signed Anthony Rizzo to a 2-year deal. They got Jose Trevino just recently for Albert Abreu, and then they traded Julio Rodriguez for Miguel Castro. Missing anything?
No, I mean, nothing major. I mean, obviously they re-signed Rizzo. I have the whole list here of all the offseason moves,
Huh.
whether it's minor league and major league. So they re-signed Rizzo. And there's a couple of minor league moves that I think might translate to major league, like bringing Ronald Guzman, big backup first baseman, Ender Inciarte, although he's sent down to AAA today. Marwin Gonzalez, he's still fighting for that one of the last roster spots. Bringing back Tim LeCastro. And let's see, aside from that, we got Shelby Miller, an underrated potential depth piece later on, maybe long relief. The rest of them, I mean, they just trading Luke Voigt to San Diego. And for Justin Lang, who was their number 8 prospect, they actually initially asked for Chris Paddock. And the Padres said no. And so they shot for the star, and they definitely went for the stars, and they just landed in the clouds. So this kid Lang, it could be a flippable guy. He throws 102 miles an hour. He's got a big arm, and I think Matt Blake will probably work some kind of magic with him, like he has been doing with the other pitchers. But those are essentially the meat and potatoes of the movie. You got most of them, so not bad offseason.
Yeah, that's my thoughts. I know a lot of fans have been mad about this offseason, saying the Yankees didn't do enough. They didn't get the big names. I understand that, but my question is, did the Yankees get better or worse this offseason? And for me, it just has to be better. They improved so much. Last year, Jay Bruce was the opening day first baseman.
Yep.
I mean, he had never played first base before. He was only getting older, 5 years removed from his prime. And we were like, oh, yeah, you're good. Just, hold down the fort until Luke Voigt eventually comes back. Not quite sure when, but soon, we think. So, he retired, kind of sent us down a spiral there at first.
Mm-hmm.
Yankees have all the spots figured out now. Got Rizzo. He's on the decline, but he's still a very solid first baseman. Another left-handed bat in the lineup. Good defense, good contact. Yankees got better at third. I know people don't like to hear this, but Urshela was not the Gold Glover that we think he was. When he first joined the Yankees, he was good above average defender. We had just come off of having Miguel Andujar as the third baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone compared to Andujar is a Gold Glover, because he cannot field. You got another Gold Glove shortstop now. Yankees improved at almost every single position this offseason. They didn't get the big free agents, but they improved their team in my mind.
I agree. I agree pretty much. Just so we know here, this was last year's opening day lineup. Are you ready for this? DJ leading off, Judge second, in right field. DJ was playing second. Hicks was leading at third in center field. Stanton clean up at DH. Labor Torres batting fifth at shortstop. Gio at third, batting sixth. Gary Sanchez catcher batting seventh. Jay Bruce batting eighth at first base, and Clint Frazier was left field batting ninth.
Oh
that was last year's opening day lineup. And Luke Voigt was already going to miss a month at that point. So massive upgrades when you compare it to this year. Like you said, I mean, Josh Donaldson is an upgrade over Gio. Okay. He's also defensively gifted, and he's good. And first of all, he brings an edge to the team that they didn't have. Okay. Even if he was the the additional piece in the kind of Falefa trade, I don't care. They're bringing somebody. They upgraded at shortstop and third base, in my opinion. They got better defensively. And, Gleyber Torres clearly is not meant for shortstop. And one of the things I've been pointing out a lot, even though folks have a lot of concerns with kind of Falefa's on base percentage, he had 174 hits last year. It's more than anybody on this entire Yankees team had. So he's walking through the door, having the most hits out of everybody. So his contact rate is good. He's also known for his hustle. He's a 25 stolen base guy, 20 to 25 stolen base. He has the most stolen bases on the team too. So he's bringing speed. He's bringing hustle, right? Donaldson's bringing an edge and a fire to the team that the Yankees haven't had. And they've improved their defense, right? And then when you cross it over to the other side, let's just use DJ at second base and you have Rizzo at first base. A full year of Rizzo is better than 2 months of Rizzo, right? And catching behind the plate last year was Gary Sanchez starting and Higgy backing up, right? 40% of the starting rotation didn't even want to throw to Sanchez. That's a huge red flag. So we've improved significantly with Rorvet and the new guy. Oh goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Jose Trevino. He's one of the best pitch framers in baseball. And with the three of them there, with Higashioka in there, we not only have offense, and even though we made up more offense in a down year, Donaldson had 27 home runs. It's more than twice what Gio had in a down year. So, there's a lot of reason to be encouraged. Yes, they weren't the flashy, sexy moves that a lot of fans want and a lot of fans attack me for. But it doesn't need to be the sexy moves all the time. And like I've said, the Mets made the sexy moves, and their 1 and 2 pitchers are down already. So on paper means nothing. Staying healthy does, right? And being productive does. So the Yankees got better in plate discipline. Okay, they were 27th out of 30 last year in hitting with runners in scoring position. They drastically decreased their strikeout rates with Donaldson and kind of Falefa. So cutting down at that, right, improving plate discipline with Dylan Lawson's new kind of hit philosophy. Joey Gallo is going to benefit from this, and I expect Gleyber Torres to benefit from this too. They also got rid of some of the the lackadaisical kind of mindset of the team, and they brought in hustle guys. Again, not the sexy numbers like a Carlos Correa or something like that, but there's no guarantee Correa was going to come here and put him in the World Series. So, and in my opinion, even Brian Cashman said this, he was limited to a degree. Hal didn't want him to make any of these big expenditures, right? So he had to be creative in areas. Now, am I satisfied with the offseason completely? No, I still think they need to start a pitcher. So and we'll get to that as well. But that inside the infield is significantly enhanced. Now, when you go to the outfield, you've got Gallo, you've got Stanton, and you've got Judge. Let's just give those three guys to the outfield. And let's say Castro is the fourth outfielder right now, and maybe we don't know yet whether it's Ender Inciarte or Estevan Florial, but we don't know. But it looks like Castro is going to solidify the 4. So we have 3 big guys who can hit with power. Then we have a speedy guy again to complement Isaiah kind of Falefa, bringing another speedy guy kind of like Tyler Wade and Greg Allen were, right? So, and then the other pieces around it, we've added in terms of the starting rotation, we've added a lot of complementary pieces. I think in my opinion, they were developing some of these long relief guys and hoping guys like Manuelos and Schmidt and Davey Garcia would kind of pan out at some point and get healthy, and they have been, which is encouraging to me. And the reason why I think they're really, really important is because when you have a starter that's not named Garrett Cole, who's going to not be able to pitch 4 or 5 innings on a regular basis, to me, it's a smart idea. Let's just say you get 4 really good innings out of Severino. You bring like a Michael King or a Nestor Cortez for maybe 2 to 3 innings, right? Let's just say 3 innings, which should be no problem for these guys. And now we only have 2 innings left, and you can go, Chapman, Lasagna, or something like that. Whereas far too often in the last 2 years, the Yankees used like 8 or 10 pitchers in a game, right? Pitchers couldn't go past 2 or 3 innings, and they were using like 7, 8 relievers. And that's way too inefficient, especially when you have consecutive games or double headers coming up. You start going through player options and sending guys up and down and stuff like that. So I think, to me, the secret weapon here is all the long relief guys that they've got, which I think is a much more effective bridge to the starters, from the starters to the short relief guys. So to me, I think that's the secret weapon that they have right now, depth-wise, that I think they should utilize wisely, while still trying to pursue a number 2 starter at the same time. Because I do think we need somebody to complement Garrett Cole. When he was at Houston, he had Justin Verlander to push him, right? once things they're healthy in the Mets, Max Scherzer has DeGrom to push him and vice versa. Cole doesn't have anybody to push him right now. And I think we need somebody to push him, which I think would just make him better. And because I think he makes the pitchers under him or behind him better, but I don't see much of the vice versa. And I don't want him to shoulder all the load. So I think number 2 would be a wise idea. But to me, that's kind of how that's my outlook on the team right now. And again, the secret weapon to me is that middle relief and the more defensive versatility in the infield, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, fans were always complaining. Yankees, all they do is strike out, hit home runs, and walk. Well, they just got more athletic. I mean,
yep, and you need to.
Rizzo's won a Gold Glove. Kind of Falefa has. I believe DJ has too. Not sure about Donaldson, but I know he's good defensively. Like our infield last year, Voit bad at fielding. LeMahieu good. Torres at shortstop is one of the worst defensive shortstops in all the league. And Urshela, average. Fans don't want to hear it, but an average defender. Now we have an infield where like at least half of the guys are Gold Glovers, maybe even more. That's big. The defense improved. They're more athletic. I mean, Joey Gallo's an athletic guy. No, Boone commented on that when Gallo came over here. He's athletic. Kind of Falefa, another athletic player. Yankees got versatility. They got athleticism, got better defense. And they did all of this without giving up any prospects.
Not one.
I mean, not many teams can say that. Not many teams can go and say, yeah, we improved at pretty much every single position. I would say the only position the Yankees got much worse at is catcher. And even then by a little bit. You know, Higgy can't really hit. I know he's been crazy in spring training, but can't trust spring training. Rortvet, an experiment. Trevino, fielding. And I love fielding catchers. I really do. I think it's one of the aspects of baseball where analytics, advanced stats, cannot properly value it. There's pitch framing, but there's nothing like game calling. That doesn't exist. So I think defensive catchers are underrated. Still think we got a little worse there, but when you have massive improvements at almost every other position, that's just a really good offseason.
It is to me. And while I'll say this with regards to catching, the offensive upside, I think, is decreased a little bit because Sanchez is one of the better hitting catchers. He was just wildly inconsistent. But I think it's going to be offset by a couple of things. The more Higashioka plays, and if you can even check his minor league stats, the more he plays, the better he hits. So that's an underrated stat that I think a lot of people are overlooking. So, and if I think he gets 2/3 of the reps while whoever the other guy is gets the other reps, I think they're going to be in a better position. Where I think they're going to really, really help the team is helping the starting rotation and helping the bullpen, because you have a lot of guys with nasty stuff. Now we have much better defensive players. So I think to me it's going to equivalent to less pass balls, more confidence in the pitch. They can actually throw their full arsenal and not worry if the catcher's going to miss half the things, and not worry if the catcher's actually going to tag runners. These guys will do that. So that to me it's a good offset. But again, will I miss Sanchez's upside in terms of hitting? Yeah, because when he's hitting, he's unhittable. I mean, he's unstoppable. He's a beast, right? Sanchez, a monster. But when he's the other flip side, right, the devil's advocate is those lazy spells, and then he can't find the plate. So he goes from Mike Piazza on one side to Butch Weiniger on the other side, who couldn't hit a beach ball. So we're getting a little bit more consistent, I think, across the board. And I do feel good about having some of that offense offset or made up for with Donaldson and other areas as well. So, but I do agree with you. I think we took a little bit of a step back offensively, catcher, but we made up for defensively in that position. And I would take at this point, defensively gifted catchers over an offensive hitting guy if we can make the offense elsewhere. So, but yeah.
Yeah. The Yankees had the 6th lowest team ERA last year. That's only going to go and get lower. You have good defensive catchers. You have good infielders, first basemen who can pick the ball, a shortstop who doesn't throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's only going to improve. I agree with you, though. Yankees still need a second ace in the rotation. Cole and Montgomery, 2 guys I trust. besides that, it's like, okay, Severino hasn't really pitched in 2 years. Last
Yeah.
year's in the bullpen. Tyone had like a mid-4 ERA last year. He's
Mhm,
also coming back off of a minor injury.
mhm.
That rotation has a lot of 4s and 5s in it. Plenty of guys in the minors who can go up and down and pitch decently. But what
Yep.
they need is that second ace in that rotation. That would have really made this offseason just so good.
Yeah.
If you would have improved offensively by getting guys like Donaldson, Rizzo, you get that left-handed bat in Rizzo, improve
Mhm.
defensively, get better pitch framers and game callers, and then you go and get a second ace to complement that crazy good bullpen.
Mhm.
Man, is the Yankees bullpen ridiculous. I
Crazy good.
mean, people are like, oh, Chapman's getting worse. Yeah, but Huizaca's getting better. Like,
And
Yankees traded for Clay Holmes and Wendy Peralta last year. People were like, who are these guys? Then
exactly.
Holmes, one of the best relievers in the league in the second half. Peralta, a solid lefty. And then even the guy the Yankees just got,
You got
Miguel
Cat,
Castro. He's very, very impressive.
hard throwing, ground ball inducing pitcher. There's another guy, Jimmy Cordero, who they signed on a minor league deal, who I think will make it up at some point as well. And a lot of these sinker balling pitchers. And one of the things that I did find out is that the Yankees, a lot of the pitchers are working on right now either a sinker or a splitter. Cole's working on a splitter as one of his third or fourth out pitches, and a lot of the other guys are working on sliders. So and it's actually working pretty well for a lot of them. So adding another pitch to the arsenal, and again with this better defensive catches, they can start to throw stuff in the dirt. They can start to throw some funky stuff that these guys they wouldn't have to worry about. Oh, it's going to pass him. It's going to pass him. It's going to pass him. So I think it gives them more flexibility to do this type of stuff too. And again, it's if you can throw, if you have a really good fastball, and you throw a nasty splitter or a slider, it's a really good out pitch. Really good out pitch. So
I mean, we saw Matt Blake make all of the pitchers throw more changeups last season. I mean,
yeah.
Garrett Cole's changeup rate went up by around 10%. He was
Mhm.
filthy because of it. And as you said, you have now Cole knows he can throw it into the dirt and it's not going to go past Sanchez, so you have Higashioka there. It's going to be massive.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge difference. I
Mm.
mean, I still think whether it be at the trade deadline or a little bit before that, I do see Cashman acquiring. I think he knows that they need to get another starter because, and if the Yankees have any consistency, it's having injuries in the pitching rotation every single year. They have 3 or 4 guys go down every year. It's like clockwork, right? It just happens. So and it's normal. And now with a ramped up spring training, if they're not utilizing these long relievers, it could put the other guys at risk too. I mean, look at DeGrom, look at Scherzer. There's other guys too. I actually wrote them down here. And so we got, who else? There's a couple of players from the Braves and the White Sox who have to get Tommy John, torn ligaments, shoulders, UCLs, need Tommy John surgery. I'll find the book.
And I know Lance Lynn just
Lynn.
went down with an injury for like 2 months.
A torn knee ligament. So like they're going down left and right with an abbreviated spring training, and I'm not surprised. That's what happens too. So this is where I would be taking advantage of the long relief guys to let the starting pitchers build up their pitch count gradually, right? And then get to the point where they're not having to work. Because I think that's one of the things that happened to Nestor Cortez last year. He kind of fell apart in the second half because he started to run out of gas. He was really, really well brilliant. He had like a 1.0 ERA, and then it just got significantly worse after that. I like him. And we have 4 years of him left. And this is another thing the Yankees have been doing with guys like Trevino. They've been getting those guys under controllable contracts. Trevino's got 4 seasons left. So does Nestor Cortez. Bringing in guys like this who they have a bunch of years with, it's a good thing too, in my opinion. So they're not tying the team up with uber duper expensive contracts. And again, do I think the Yankees would, what I would like to see in some flashy moves? Yeah, but I don't always think they're necessary. Yeah. So especially in New York. Not everybody can handle this place. Not everybody wants to take the Yankees' money. That's just a reality that us Yankee fans who are spoiled to have such a great team every year. So that's a reality that we have to face. And I know people don't want to acknowledge it, but I think it's an important reality. So not everybody wants to come here. And Ken Griffey said it best. Did you hear Ken Griffey's quote?
I did not.
King Griffey said if the Yankees were the only team to ever offer him a contract, he would have just retired from baseball.
Wow.
Ken Griffey Jr., a 600 home run Hall of Famer, Ken Griffey. Now, he was the most vocal about it, obviously. But there are people like him who just don't want to come here. Or with guys like Jeff Weaver and some guys that just can't handle it here. And it's just like the New York media. I mean, they're relentless, right? They'll just eat you alive. And they just ask you the same question. And they try to break people. And the New York fans are relentless too. They're very well knowledgeable fans. They know a lot about baseball, and they want the Yankees to be great, obviously, like you and I do. But they're also the most opinionated people in the world too. So you're going to hear it one way or another. But that, to me, that's part of what's great about it too.
Yeah. I mean, I think I believe the last time the Yankees were not in the playoffs was 2016.
Correct.
That's impressive. Few teams can consistently get to the playoffs year after year after year. And another thing fans don't want to hear, but the playoffs are a lot of luck.
Yes.
I mean, baseball is not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's why it's 162 games. Then you have wild card games where it's one game. World Series, it's 7 games at most. Playoffs are a little bit of luck there. And the Yankees are always making it to the playoffs. And it's painful. Painful when the Yankees don't win. But there are teams like the Mets who don't make it to the playoffs that often. And then, they have to do what they've done over the last 2 years. They spend a ton of money. And did that work out for them last year? Trading for Lindor, giving him an extension? No, they're below 500.
They're not guaranteed this year to win the World Series either.
Yeah, people say, "Oh, Mets run the town now." No, they don't.
You have to.
They'll do that. They'll do that when they win more than 27 World Series.
Yes, Yankees own the town. It's not. Yeah, I don't understand that one. I'm impressed with the spending. He wants to win. He's investing in his product. I get it, but again, just bringing in all those guys doesn't mean anything. And it's just the way that it is. And like you said too, we've been spoiled as fans, and the Yankees have more wins than any team since 2000. They have more playoff appearances since anyone since 2000. So that's something to be said for. And there are and I always look for the silver lining, try to find the positive in certain situations. I like to look for solutions to problems instead of problems for solutions. So, and then I think that's why some people go nuts when I when I put out some encouraging videos and whatnot. They just get angry with me, but that I ride with my team, good or bad. I ride with the Yankees no matter what. So, and it's all good. I mean, and I'm happy to see them. I get disappointed when they don't play well, just like you do, like everybody else. And it is what it is. And they'll eventually win another World Series. I want to see Cole win a Cy Young. I want to see him throw a no-hitter. Like, I want to see him win a World Series here. And I want to see Stanton win a World Series here. And stuff like that. And Judge will just continue to add. And if people are, I've said this too, that they have like $120 million coming off the payroll in the next 3 to 4 years. So they can retool where they need to retool and stuff like that. So, and I think they will. And who knows, they might be saving for Juan Soto. Like, I have no idea. Right. And nobody else does. And Juan Soto is going to be 26 when he's a free agent. So he's going to make like $1 gazillion. But who has $1 gazillion? The Yankees have $1 gazillion. So, and they're going to have $1 bazillion of it off the books in 3 years. So it might line up. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And next season, the Yankees have Chapman and Britton coming off the books.
Yep.
They've proved that they don't need to spend over $10 million on relievers when they can trade for guys at the deadline and make them elite. I think that's a mistake Yankees are never going to make again. They're never going to be giving these massive contracts to relievers. They've learned the risk is way too large there.
Yep.
Holds down the team. The Yankees have just gotten a little better. They used to be pretty bad at drafting. You look at their picks 10 years ago, how many of them worked out? Pretty much none.
Awful.
Last 5 years, though, it's been pretty good.
Yeah,
a lot of reasons to be optimistic about this team. People don't always like being optimistic. It's, it feels a little better to just scream and shout. Let's say, give us the next World Series, spend all the money to get there. But it's also nice being a little optimistic.
Yeah, and we talked about this. Anger and outrage kind of gets people's attention, right? And I get that and all this stuff. But again, like, That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of YouTube too. You put out some kind of scandalous, and people are going to go after it and take a look at. They're going to be curious. So, which is totally fine. Again, but I'm riding with my gang no matter what. Like, and I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to win plenty of games. I think they're going to be, better than people think this year in a sneaky way. So I'm excited for what the season's going to hold. I really am. And again, they got incrementally better, but again, they don't have to make the big moves every year. And again, these weren't sexy moves, but they were necessary moves. Some of these guys are better fits here. There's no guarantee Correa would have been a fit. And I know a lot of people want Trevor Bauer to come here. He's a beast, but I don't know if he's going to be a fit either. So, and I'd rather have a good fit who's just dependable than a potential toxic mix here. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, and we'll see what happens too. Like, I'm hoping Hal authorizes, if they need a piece or whatnot, I hope Hal authorizes them to get whatever piece they need to, if they're that close or whatnot. But I'm not just handing the Blue Jays the division title yet. I'm not handing them the World Series and the Dodgers. I'm not doing it. So, like you said, too, you never know what happens in the World Series or the playoffs. People get hot, people get cold. That's just the nature of it. It's a 0-0 start once the postseason starts. So, and this is where depth comes into play, right? This is where, doing it right for a long time and not overextending guys so that they can get regular rest and be ready for the postseason comes into play too. So having the right bench, having, the right balance of players and doing these things is really, really important. I think the Yankees have been paying more attention to that too. And like you said, one of the things that the Yankees have done was saddle themselves with really bad contracts, right? With Jacoby Ellsbury, Carl Pavano, like some of those contracts were just onerous. They were terrible. So to me, it forced them to draft better. It forced them to develop players better. Now we're in a spot where we have guys like Volpe and Dominguez and Trey Sweeney and Luis, like some of these guys that are ready to kind of take the next step. And I know people call it prospect hugging. We get accused of that all the time, but prospect hugging was the core four or the core five. I like to include Bernie Williams. That's the definition of prospect hugging. They let kids develop and they gave them a shot and they infused Tino Martinez, Wade Boggs, Scott, like they infused a combination of young guys and veterans. I think that's what the Yankees are kind of moving towards right now. And I hope that they give kids an opportunity, especially ones that, we haven't had a number 6 farm. I don't remember the last time we had a number 6 farm. We're number 6 in all of baseball, like the Yankees and people. And I like to point this out because I think it's important. It's easily overlooked. The teams that are good, like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they always pick at the bottom rounds of the draft. Okay. They don't get access to Carlos Correa's, Adley Rushman's on a regular basis. The Pirates do, the Orioles do, and these teams do, right? When's the last time, with the exception of Judge, who turned out to be a stud, when's the last time the Yankees drafted a player of his caliber? With now is like Anthony Volpe and some of these guys, but Anthony, we got lucky, and we really got lucky. So I'm hoping they continue this trend and continue to develop guys. I do think they need to develop starting pitching better. They're fantastic at developing relief pitchers. Brilliant at that. But I think the starting pitching pipeline, and I do think they should, in my opinion, draft a catcher in the first 5 rounds for like the next 10 years. One catcher and build a pipeline of catcher, because look what Oakland A's have now. Sean Murphy and Tyler Soderstrom. Now they have the guy from the Atlanta Braves, Touche Langoliers. Catchers are just like center fielders, just like shortstops, the most tradable assets there are, right? And teams are always looking for a good catcher. If the Yankees build a pipeline, like who does everybody ask for in trades? Volpe and Dominguez, shortstop, center field, up the middle guys. If we do the same thing with catchers, we have that much more of a robust farm, in my opinion, which I really hope that they do. I really hope they do. So, but in every major trade I've proposed, I'm trying to get a big catcher back, and I'm trying to get some pitching back too, or somebody like that. But I'm always looking for like MJ Melendez from the Royals, who's blocked by Salvador Perez, or the kid Soderstrom is blocked by Sean Murphy from the A's, like guys like that. And I think it would be a wise idea. So I know I kind of tangent a little bit, but I think it's important to point out.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you gotta draft strong.
Mm-hmm.
So going into a little bit of a unrealistic land here, if you could have gotten like one free agent around the same contract, Yankees have kind of a similar offseason, modified a little bit because of this free agent signing. Your one big signing What would it have been?
This offseason,
Yeah,
it would have been Robbie Ray, compliment Garrett Cole.
that was mine too. I mean,
Number 1-2 punch. We need that 1-2 punch. There was 1,000 shortstops available. We got one that wasn't available, but Robbie Ray was the one get, I think, that would have complemented Cole. And I think that was still our biggest need.
yeah.
Cole Ray would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah, and Ray is making 23 million a year over the next 5 years. He'll be 35 when that contract ends. That's not a bad contract either.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of the biggest miss here. You got again Cole Ray, that's huge. Cole Ray, Jordan Montgomery, three guys who I trust. Then you have Severino, who has a lot of upside. A lot of upside pitchers. You can move Cortez to the bullpen. Then it's a long relief pitcher. Make that bullpen even better than it already is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I feel like that was the biggest miss this offseason. So you can complain about Carlos Correa and all that stuff, but he's also making like 40 million a year. Yankees would not have done anything else.
Well, yeah, and again, when does drafting a position or signing a shortstop help starting pitching? Doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not a pitcher. So, and that's kind of the way I look at it too. And keep in mind, Jameson Taillon is probably not going to be back after next year. So signing a pitcher to a controllable years would have been a nice move for the Yankees. I think that's their biggest miss. Rodon was a surprise. I'm surprised he only got 2 years from the Giants. I thought he would have gotten more, but
well, I think he has an option after his first one.
Opt out after this year.
Yeah,
he cannot work back out. So can Correa. He can opt out after every year. So, but I think Robbie Ray, like you said, is the biggest miss.
Yeah. Then, do you have any bounce back players this year?
Joey Gallo.
Joey Gallo
and DJ, but DJ's less obvious. I just think it's going to happen because he's healthy. He's got his hernia surgery. He's healthy again. Joey Gallo to me is the prime bounce back candidate. I think he's going to be. He looks a heck of a lot more comfortable, and his swing's got a little bit more compact and it's got a little bit more controlled. I think Dylan Lawson's been working on that with him. So I could see him. I could see him and Judge and Stanton all hitting close to 40 home runs each.
Yeah,
so that would be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So him, and then to a degree DJ behind him.
Yeah, I had Gallo and LeMahieu, pretty much the same points that you had there, and give Gallo a full season. LeMahieu's coming back off of an injury that he played through all of last season. He's a professional hitter. He'll improve. Then I think Chapman's gonna have a bounce back.
Aroldis Chapman?
Yeah. Because he was lights out in the first half. Then he struggled. The spider, like the spanning of spider attack and all that stuff, them really cracking down on that. You look at the amounts that his rotations per minute dropped. Mm-hmm. He was a pitcher that, at least from my perspective, looked like he used maybe pine tar to just get better control on the baseball. And you saw that he could not command the strike zone. But that's also a mechanical thing. He's going to be working with Matt Blake a lot. He's going to be working on his command, working on his mechanics. I think he's going to kind of have a bounce back season here. A lot of people are trashing him right now. He's making so much as a reliever, but I'm rooting for the guy. I want him to do well. He's a Yankee. I don't like it when fans want Yankees to fail.
I'm with you. I don't understand why so many fans trash every move that they make. I don't personally understand that. Like, that's not the way I believe. Like, I'm critical of certain things, but I'm hoping that this team does well. And again, I'm with, Chapman throws 103 miles an hour still. Okay. And he's 34. He also has a very unorthodox lefty windup. His bias. It's not like a straightforward pitching windup. So it's easy to kind of lose control, in my opinion. So I think Matt Blake working with him. I also think the Yankees had already admitted that they're going to use him sometimes in lower leverage situations. And putting Lasagna at closer, I think will be a good thing as well. To me, it's kind of like gradually handing off the torch to John Lasagna. And because he has choked in some situations. He's thrown some bad pitches at the worst time, Chapman. And I think we can all agree, but that's just reality. But if you look at his stats, he's still, career like 2.8 ERA. Actually, it's a career 2.3 ERA. Okay. He's had a 2.7 with the Yankees. So he's uber dominant. Okay. And when he's on, he's absolutely unhittable. So when he has movement, so I don't mind him, and I do hope he has a bounce back too, for the pitching side. I really, really, really do. So, and he would be one that we would need to have a bounce back too, like a dominant closer, a dominant setup. We absolutely need that.
Agreed. Then to wrap this up, what's your overall grade on this offseason so far? Assuming the Yankees don't go out, do something crazy before opening day, then how many wins do you think this team will have? Where will they be in the division?
I give them a C to C plus. I would probably bump it up to a B if they get a starting pitcher. My number two, let's just say Kyle Hendricks from the Cubs or something like that. I give them a B. I see them winning about 94 games, 93 to 94 games, and being second in the division. I don't see them being fourth place.
Yeah,
It's
not a fourth place team.
No, it's not. It's not a fourth place team.
I gave them a B minus this offseason. The same. They improved. They're much better than last year. Still didn't get a starting pitcher. That's gonna hurt them a lot. Easily could have been an A offseason. They spent big, but in reality, they didn't. They had a B minus offseason. Could have been better. I have them winning 95 games next season. Very, very similar to what you gave them.
Would be nice.
Yeah. And I think they're gonna be second. I think that Rays could always just do something, win 120 games. I feel like people would not be shocked. The Rays are just something else.
They're sneaky good every year, the Rays.
Yeah.
With a minuscule payroll and fantastic player development and just ridiculously good trading. I don't know how they win almost every trade the way that they do, but they're brilliant at trades. So I give them that credit. And I could see them on paper. To me, the Blue Jays have the best squad right now. But again, they have to stay healthy. And I remind folks, they did lose Simeon. They did lose Robbie Ray. The guys that they brought in, okay, they got in more depth than they got quality, so which is fine. But I'm not just going to hand them the division either. The Rays can win it. The Yankees can win it. Who knows? Even though Chris Sale's now out until June, they announced that today. He's with a fractured rib, so that's. If I were the Yankees, I'd be trying my darndest to get off to a good start and to kind of get ahead and try to create a gap to Boston, because once those guys get rolling, they really get rolling. So, I would be trying to reside at the top of that division with the Blue Jays and maybe Rays and just create a gap. But I'm with you there too. The Yankees are second place, but that anything can change.
Yeah,
and I do expect Cashman to make another move at the deadline or two. So.
Agreed. If the team's not doing well, he'll do something. I mean, he got Rizzo this year, last year. He got Gallo, traded for Andrew Heaney, even though that did not work out. But he got Holmes, got Rodriguez. Like he made moves at the deadline, and I agree with what you're saying. Blue Jays got a little better. People act like they just had the best offseason ever when they lost Robbie Ray, who won the Cy Young. Marcus Simeon, like 40 home runs or something. There goes pitching, there goes offense and defense there.
Yep.
Their moves made them a little better. I think the Yankees also got a little better.
I do too.
And, they were pretty much, Jays and the Yankees had almost the exact same record last season. It's going to be a slugfest. It's a tough division, but that makes for entertaining baseball.
It's going to be a dogfight in the NL East and the AL East. And especially the AL East. It's always a dogfight in the American League East. I expect really good games with the Red. And I think it'll give us, I'm not saying the best idea, but we'll kind of get a good idea of how deep the Yankees are when they get through this first two series against Boston and Toronto. Because right out the gate, they get both teams. So I hope that they come out of that with a winning record, even if it's 4-3 or something like that. And, I would feel confident. And again, I'm confident in what the Yankees are going to do. The makeup of their team. It's a different mentality on this team too, which I like. And that's one of the things that they emphasized. So, and again, they didn't get the big guys, but that's okay. That's okay. And at this point, I don't see the point in kind of like driving myself nuts over it because we can't do anything about that. So, but I'm confident in the stuff that Cashman's done. And even though people like to hate on the guy, he does have 4 rings. Okay, he's done a lot. He's brought a lot of guys here. And, if he's here next year, he's here next year. I don't know. This is his last year of his contract. Yeah. So we'll see. I know there's the appeal of Derek Jeter out there, what he might do, but there's no guarantee. I mean, one of the reasons he left Miami was because they wouldn't spend. And oh, wait a minute, the Detroit Tigers, did they just make a trade? Something just popped up on my phone. So Austin Meadows from the Tampa Bay Rays just got traded to the Tigers.
Huh.
Look at that. While we're talking, a trade just popped up. Let's see if I can get. Tigers announced this evening. This is on MLBTradeRumors.com. It's always nice to break news during a video too. It's kind of cool. They announced that they've acquired outfielder Austin Meadows from the Braves for third baseman Isaac Paredes and a competitive balance round B selection. That's actually a significant move for the Tigers.
Yeah.
They've added quite a bit to their. They've gotten Robbie Grossman over at the Rays. They've got a bunch of guys, but that's a good move for the Tigers.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about just a minute ago. A trade that the Rays are constantly making, and they could deal one of their top, who was one of their good players, and they'll turn this Isaac Paredes probably into like Brooks Robinson or something, and that's what they do.
And they just, you said they just got a draft pick there. Oh no.
Yeah, and this is where they're great. And again, who would have thought? I never thought they were going to trade Austin Meadows to the Tigers, but this is one of the things that makes this stuff so fascinating. It's really cool. Really cool. So I'm glad we were able to break this together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
thank you for coming on here. Thank you for doing this video. Again, if you have not subscribed to his channel, go and subscribe. So,
and vice versa. Make sure you subscribe to the other as well. He does great stuff. And we're gonna continue putting stuff out. We're gonna continue growing the Yankee brand, the Yankee family. And again, we love our Yankees, so please support our channels. So if you love the Yankees, then you definitely want to be watching both of our channels. So because we love the Yankees, and we're gonna make sure you guys are in the loop with everything. Everything, right?
yep.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you.
Appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much for having me on, bud.
Yep.